the BMW 540i with all-wheel drive. This starts at $63,000. The way that this is spec'd with the M Sport package and Executive pack, you're going to be paying $73,000. And what do you get for that? Well, you get an M Sport steering wheel, some special wheels and tires. You get a wireless charger, a Harman Kardon audio system, a heads-up display, and a lot more. The argument is going to be, why is this so expensive? And I'm not even going to justify the price in this. It's a luxury product. It's going to be designed for somebody that is going to purchase this for business purposes. It's going to be a lease and you're going to write it off. With that said, if you're working 50, 60 hours a week, chances are you want to get into something and you want it to work. And that is where BMW is at its best, and it's beating so many competitors in so many different ways. So that's what I'm going to detail here. You have BMW's global architecture and design for the interior space. So whether you're getting an X5, an X3, or basically any BMW, they all look the same. And while that might hurt some of its character and special factor, everything works because they've put all their money into making sure that everything is cohesive. When you look at the physical controls, if you're somebody that does not want all the fancy pants, like gimmicky stuff, this is by far one of the least gimmicky cars you can get into. Your controls for HVAC, your rotary knobs for volume, everything is physical. There is nothing here that requires you to use the touchscreen for your daily use. So if you've been used to a BMW from 15 years ago, it's all the same. So you would think maybe the technology sucks. And that's not true. This is some of the best technology implementation of any modern car. You have a touchscreen. Not only do you have a touchscreen, you have one of the best physical controls to get around the UI. They've added wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It is extremely fast to use. There's literally no lag here. Everything works almost perfectly. And I'm not even saying that, I'm not even trumping that up. It does work so well. The gauge cluster, the technology has been refined over so many years that this is one of the primary reasons why you buy this. Because when you get in here, like I said, and you don't want to deal with shit, you've been working all day, working all week, the car just works. It's comfortable, the seats are great. The overall ergonomics of everything, despite all the piano gloss crap, you can customize the leather choice, you can customize kind of the textures from this fake aluminum to wood. You can kind of have this any way you want it, assuming you have the money to do that, and you're going to enjoy driving this, and you're not going to think twice. The negative part is, like I said, when you look at the interior and mostly the exterior, this is one of the most soulless BMWs you're ever going to get into. And maybe that's what you want. This is the car you're going to park in a parking lot somewhere, and you're never going to find it. You're just going to black out. You'll be like, where's my car? Oh, there it is. You're basically going to set your alarm off to find this thing. And I think that's one of the trade-offs of modern BMW. They become more and more kind of cardboard, but they're working way better than they ever have in the past. Let's get into the shop and talk about some of the technical aspects of the architecture and drivetrain.
Well, Mark, we're underneath the 2021 540i xDrive. This is BMW's mid-cycle refresh / facelift, as BMW calls it, their life cycle update.
Oh my God. So we've already covered the 5 Series. This version of the color architecture, which starts to get into that next level. This is the higher end when you go into the 7 and 8 Series. So everything is all aluminum here. Everything. Subframe carriers, suspension, and even the back. This is one of the most beautiful, and I say this every time, and I'm not kidding. The subframe, all of that looks amazing. Extremely high quality.
You're getting all teary-eyed, Mark.
I am, and it makes spending $70,000 on this feel a lot more digestible. But anyway, so the basics are, this is BMW's rear-wheel drive architecture. Mm-hmm. This has the ability to go have all-wheel drive added on like this, but it's always rear biased.
Yes.
So it still has good balance. It still has good weight balance. But what else do we need to know here, Jack?
So because this is the 540, this has the B58 engine there, inline 6. However, you have 2 other engine options. In the 530, you get a 4-popper. And in the M550i, you get the V8 that you would find, say, in the X5 V8. It's not the full M car. And of course, you have the M5, which we did a video on as well.
The 550 with the V8, the twin-turbo V8, is an amazing in-between. It still rides great. It's super comfortable. It has everything that you want without giving you that price tag that is just gets nuts with the M5 cars.
It's not cheap at like almost $80,000 to $90,000. Right. but it strikes the right balance in this car. Honestly, as we talked about when we did the M5 competition, no one is really taking these things to the track.
It just gets too much. You're throwing a lot of money away if you're just daily driving. This does everything you want, really. This has got a great motor, one of the best 6-cylinders, which we'll talk about on the drive. It feels good. There's nothing wrong with this. And if you're looking for an all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive biased all-wheel drive system, the dynamics are good. It rides great.
And you have adjustable dampers if you do want to stiffen it up.
And it has, with the M Sport package, you get the active rear sway bar, which helps to increase rotation in the back and just make this a really good driving car. Not just comfortable, but also engaging to drive, which a lot of luxury cars kind of flush down the toilet when they get to this level.
And you get summer tires, Pilot 4S's.
I think with that, Jack, let's take this out on the road and see how it drives.
All right.
The 540
X-Drive.
All-wheel drive, Jack. When you get behind the wheel of this and you're isolated and you pound down that throttle pedal with your foot, and you look at how fast this thing accelerates to 60, 70 miles an hour, you don't feel it, you don't hear it. It's so refined. It's faster than like the old BMW enthusiast products, the old M cars. And what does that mean?
This means, Mark, that you're not in the traditional BMW anymore. This brand has basically shredded its heritage of being a driver's car. This is a luxury product. This is not a sports sedan. It may be fast, it may be luxurious, it may handle well, but you feel nothing when you drive this car. That's exactly what you want in a product like this these days.
Yeah, and I gotta agree, and it's taken me some time. It's taken me a lot of time to acclimate to this, to what it's become. And just because it's not a sports car anymore, a lot of the, at its base level, what makes this car so good is the drivetrain in every single BMW is great, right down to their 4-cylinder. The fact that they're all rear-wheel drive biased, with the exception of the cheap ones, it has a great balance. It's super comfortable, at least on, when you get to the lower trim level, not the M cars. They ride good. The suspension on here is super plush. It doesn't beat you up, even with the run flats on it. And I think that's a huge pro to me when you're looking at an executive level sedan like this.
And then this B58, at least in the 6-cylinder variant of this, like we're demonstrating, is very, very fast.
This has to be one of the best mass market inline 6 engines or 6-cylinder options you can get. It has become more reliable. There's no issues with tuning. It's fast right when you get off the line. I mean, there's that little tiny bit of turbo lag, but it revs out quickly. The transmission tuning and performance is amazing. The all-wheel drive system still feels like it's gonna pull you out of the shit when you just do like this. It has a slight safe understeer to it, but you always feel the rear bias to it. The seats are good in here. The visibility's good. Really, what's wrong with this?
It's a soulless luxury product, and that's my problem with it. It's very expensive. It's $74,000. It does everything so well, but it just feels like something you lease and throw away. And then there's the value problem with this. I like BMWs, obviously. I mean, that's the joke in this channel. But I can't tell you that this is twice as good as something like an Avalon or Camry or an Accord, even though it's twice as expensive.
Let's get into that before we get into the final thoughts. Because, I have this question. A lot of what makes this so good now is a lot of what made the Accords and Camrys good in yesteryear. Everything worked at such a high level. You had everything that you possibly could want at an affordable, like $25,000 to $30,000 price range, and now they've gone up quite a bit. Why not just pay like the 35, 40 grand for an Accord or Camry when it does almost exactly the same thing as this?
I don't disagree with you. Yes, in every objective fashion, this is better. It's quieter, it's faster. It gets surprisingly similar fuel economy. The 6-cylinder almost gets 30 miles to the gallon on the highway. It is so good, but so forgettable. I don't know, man.
If you're on that next level and you're not making 40 grand a year and you're making $100,000 a year or more, would you honestly go and say, okay, I have disposable income, I'm going to buy an Accord or Camry, even though it might be as good in some cases?
No, it's a luxury good. There's no value behind it, and I fully agree with you, but from a objective standpoint, when I'm trying to recommend something to someone, Now, if you're buying a BMW, typically people think of performance vehicles or sports sedan. This is not that. This is like buying a Mercedes.
It's not a sports car anymore, but in every measurable metric, it still has on paper that it acts like a sports car. This is one of the best sedans on the planet, if you can remove the fact that it's absolutely soulless in almost every regard.
Yeah, and I guess with that, Mark, you went ahead into the final thoughts.
Absolutely. Final thoughts on the 5 Series. Talked about it on the inside, talked about it during the drive. This, mechanically, engineering, spec sheet-wise, and drivability is one of the best sedans on the planet. And you're going to hear a repetitive pattern across all videos here. To make something that's a sports car, to make it something as a luxury car, to make it super practical, have a ton of cargo room, to make it like a minivan. If there was one perfect car, we'd all own it. But every brand has their own little deficiencies or problems they bake in. In the case of this 5 Series, it is definitely lacking character and passion. And again, sometimes you work so much on that engineering, you tick all these boxes and you forget the fact that sometimes there's an emotional reason to have certain cars when you're spending this kind of money. Does that make it bad? No, that's just the psychological part of car ownership. So if you don't care about that, you don't care that it's kind of like this chalkboard design, you're gonna love this car in every single way. It's gonna be your best executive lease car you're probably gonna have. There's essentially no reason why not to get it aside from the price. Now, BMW is trying to overcorrect this. The newer cars are going to more extreme overstyling, and which is worse? And I think, again, this is up to the buyer to figure out what's right for you. I'd say test drive this car, you're really gonna like it. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.